Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 298. My name is Brando, and I'm blown away. I didn't know how successful these Guns N' Roses review shows would be. So right away, I just got to thank both Eric and Cory, who submitted, I think, both on Facebook. So this is why you want to follow on social media to review the Indy show that just happened last night. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Problem. Yeah, thank you.
And what's been great about doing the review shows, it's one thing if, I went to the first, the one that kicked it off, Hershey Park. It's great to talk about it. As somebody who goes to a show, it's great to talk about it. Obviously, that's why you both are here. And then I had the New Jersey show like a week later. But how is it going to be when I'm not there and I'm hearing about each show along the way from different fans? And I'm loving it. And I know you guys, that's why you're reaching out. So I continue to encourage people to, and I'm getting submissions for Atlantic City already, Baltimore. So it's, knocking on wood, just keeping this tour night train going.
Doing a good job.
Yeah, it's super fun to listen to. I think to hear what other people are saying about the shows, because you can only get so much reading it on the bulletin boards and stuff, so I think it's great.
Yeah, your perspective, and I do my best as a air quote professional, but I'm really a professional. But sometimes I don't do a great job at that. But I try to keep it all round up. Kind of keep it a nice little focus. So kind of give a conversation you would have at a concert with someone you met randomly, and almost put it in a podcast. So are you both from the area? I've never been to Indianapolis. I don't know anything about other than Axel's from the area.
Lafayette. Yeah, I live in Champaign, Illinois, which is about 2 hours away from Indy to the west, and Axel's from from Lafayette, which is about an hour and 45. So we're kind of like in a triangle area between those two places. So for me, it's an easy jaunt to go over there. It's easier to go there than it is Chicago or St. Louis, but I've seen them in all places. So.
But speaking of St. Louis, Eric, how come you have a Cardinals hat on? Shouldn't you?
Well, this is an homage to the "Don't Cry" video, of course. But I mean, I'm a fan. I was just at a game recently, so I grabbed one. I figured the Guns N' Roses shirt and the St. Louis hat goes with the show. So
let's see the shirt actually. If you're watching on Zoom, sorry to cut. Yeah, just the bullet. Yeah, the gun.
Yeah,
the bullet.
Right, nice $50 souvenir from last night.
Yeah.
I also got a lithograph, 288 out of 300. So.
Okay. All right.
I don't have that with me at the moment.
Okay. I want to get to that. I want to get through both of your whole deal going to the show, like what time you get there, everything, which includes getting lithographs. But Cory, are you from the area? You have an interesting accent.
I'm from Chicago. So I actually, I'm from Chicago. Although this was so I've seen him in India. This is the third time in Indy. So I'm from the Chicago area and went to school in Champaign, Eric. So
you did. Me too. Yeah. Well, you have I.
Yeah. So
okay, cool. I just had, I don't know, we were talking off the air a little bit. You're a new listener of the podcast. I am. This is awesome. So I tell people find us all the time. It's new listeners find us all the time. I'm not making this up. There are DJs that make up. Oh yeah, I got this email. This person, no, they make it up. I'm honest about. Yeah, Eric's been around for a while. He, always commenting on Facebook, and now Cory and New Van, which is just it's awesome. So I don't know if you heard the episode where I left my email up. You never know if it's a breaking news thing. Actually, nothing like that. Although I got news earlier to make it to deviate with a purpose. I'm interviewing Marcos from the POD tomorrow.
All right.
Cool.
And that's actually so episode 299 is going to be Marcos and Glenn Hughes, who I interviewed this morning, rock and roll gamer from Deep Purple.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
nice.
So sometimes I'm like a dog. I hear a ding and I get distracted. What's that? So I don't know if you heard the episode where I interviewed and I finally met up with him in Chicago at the Jersey Jack Pinball, which I have behind me. The front of the pinball. Have you been there since you're from Chicago? I forget. Elk Grove. I think that's where it is. Jersey Jack Pinball.
Elk Grove Village. Yeah. I've not been there, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I got it half right, but yeah, it's Chicago, and I'm glad that my fiance doesn't have that. I don't know. I might like that accent. But although if we were getting intimate, I probably would start making the Bears jokes, and it's just,
It's so easy. It's so easy to make Bears jokes. Believe me.
she bought me, and I still wear it, a 2017 Bears division championship hat.
Oh, really?
That's a keeper.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, so speaking of things, collectibles, and you mentioned it earlier, Eric, and the other thing behind me, if you're watching on Zoom, other than the pinball, another Eric who is on one of these reviews sent me the one from Fargo. As I'm trying to, you see this guy? Scared. I like how it's all. I'm gonna knock it over behind me on Zoom. I got to get these all framed. It's like a pseudo studio. I almost said it's a studio, but it's a pseudo studio, Fargo. So do you guys both go early to GN'R shows? Or I'm assuming you're both, I mean, I do know a little bit off the air. You told me you're both veterans of going to GN'R shows. So
right.
What time do you guys both get there?
Well, I had a buddy with me that was really wanting to see the Mammoth part of the show. So we got there like right as they were starting, we're downtown Indy is like the perfect place for shows and hotels and restaurants and things. You can walk to all these different places. So we got there right as they were starting, to see the opening act and whatnot. And most of the time I was standing in line to get the lithograph shirt. So I heard it, but I didn't see it, the opening act. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Before I forget, so how many shows total, and we'll get some specifics, have you been to Guns N' Roses shows in your fan?
My life?
Yeah.
First in April '92 at the Rosemount, Chicago. Still the best show I've ever been of any show I've been to in my life.
Okay.
Saw them in 2002 with the New Guns. 2006. I saw them in 16 in Chicago, 17 in St. Louis, and then the show. So it's like 5 or 6 shows.
Okay. So we'll get your ranking later, because we got to talk about the show first.
Sure.
Then Cory, how many have you been to? What's your career statistics as a fan of GN'R?
Yeah, last night was 14. I told you it was 15 and I was wrong. So last night was 14. I was at the 92 show, which was amazing. And in Chicago, the Rosemont show. And yeah, so my first was Alpine, the first night of the Use Your Illusions tour at Alpine Valley. So and then just seen him different times over the years. So we can get into that a little bit later. And for me last night, you want to know when I went to the show and everything, like, so last night I I made the trip because of the pit, the drop in the pit prices. And, normally I haven't been, don't like to shell out that kind of money to go into the pit, but they dropped the ticket prices yesterday morning. I was still sort of up in the air about going, and they dropped them to like $1.50, yesterday morning finally. And so I just, made the decision to go. So I ended up getting there maybe an hour before Mammoth came on and just went straight into the venue. So I could try to be as close as possible yesterday. But generally, I don't try to get there early unless there's a good opening band. So
where were your seats? Were you general admission? Where were you?
Yeah. I got on the floor. Yep. And ended up getting like right second row behind the rail, which was pretty awesome. So
and
yeah,
I was on the floor one section back from where he would have been. So in a seat actually.
Okay. Because it's a different perspective as far as timing with everything. If you're a GA, you want to get up close. You may, not do what Eric did and get lithographs or get a hot dog or anything. So did you guys went straight there? Did you go merch? Anything merch for you, Cory?
So, I looked at I went by one booth to see if the lithos were still available. The booth I checked out, it was not there. And as much as I like them, I just didn't like the design. So I wasn't gonna, I didn't buy it because I wouldn't have bought it probably anyways, but I didn't see it, and I didn't want to go around looking for another booth. I really wanted to try to get as close as possible and see if I could get up on the rail.
Okay. All right. So then Eric, let me ask you, it's interesting you said, Cory, that you didn't like the design because perhaps if you weren't in the deep insider, I believe that's what my former co-host, current friend Ian Scotto said. He's like, what's with the pizza design? Is Indianapolis known for its pizza? Obviously being a New Yorker, it's like we're offended at first. But I knew because I've heard the stories that I've never been. It's Arni's restaurant, Arni's Pizza and Restaurant that Axel has just loved since, you know, he was
He's
young.
a little kid.
So
Yeah.
it was a little kid. I didn't know how far. I know it went back far back, but I didn't want
Yeah.
to assume.
There's a good the original location is in Lafayette where he's from,
Right.
and there's a good story in the JP, the paper from that town, about how he's been back there numerous times over the years, you know, visited with his family and whatnot. And so apparently Del James took a picture and put it on Twitter last night. They had that backstage afterwards. My personal opinion is not very good pizza, but it's the pizza you grew up with, you know. And so to you, it's like memory of your youth more than likely anything. We all probably have those kind of good memories that bring us back to that time, but it wasn't something to go out of your way for us, put it that way. Like my wife thinks it's terrible.
That's funny. Because I would hear that Axel would have it delivered to him
In Malibu.
In Malibu, right? I mean,
Right.
that's bonkers. You know, it's one thing again to be a New Yorker where you're going somebody, and that's what they say. Like, nothing's like New York pizza, right? The water's different other places.
Yep.
And if you want to, you know, have New York slice, but to have, yeah, I guess it's nostalgia. You know, I still eat, you know, Fruit Loops and Frosted Mini Wheats, and they aren't like,
Right.
well, Frosted Mini Wheats is pretty good. But.
Yeah, it's pretty much something you can't get normally, so you grab it when you got the opportunity. Like for me, like White Castle example, you know, I'll grab that when I don't have it right here, but I go 2 hours away in Indy and they've got it. So, you know.
It's very true. So the lithograph, it looks like a pizza box, but split. Like if you opened up the pizza box that isn't put together yet, because it looks like the bottom is what would be the top of the box, and the bottom like it's reversed. So I don't know if anyone's gonna do this. I don't know if Eric, you're gonna sacrifice your, you know, your $50, or you're gonna try to fold it up to make it into the GN'R pizza box.
I wish I had it with me to show you, but I don't. I left it in the buddy's car.
That's all
But
right.
I hadn't thought that far ahead actually. So I just grabbed it and like put it in the bag and went, you know. So I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
Somebody's got to do that. I know you're devaluing it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna.
I was just surprised how few of them they produced. Like I said, they're limited number 288 out of 300. So that was kind of cool.
Let me see. They're usually 300. This is 250. Fargo's 250.
Wow.
And the one behind it, the Hawaiian girl that I got, I've never been to Hawaii, but I got it from Aaron Bueller, the designer. It's at a 200. So it's interesting what they do per city. And you see why.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I mean, did you notice this, Eric, that it's one per?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because otherwise people they're up on eBay an hour later for 3 times the price. It's
right.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I understand it's capitalism, whatever, but come on, we're all Guns N' Roses fans. What are we doing here?
Right.
So anyway, have you both been to a show prior on this tour? Like, did you know what to expect? Okay, so would be your first time, Cory, as you shake your head no.
Yep.
Are you talking about this leg of the tour or at all?
This leg, whatever they're calling it, we're effing back. Maybe.
Yeah.
No, this was the first one for this particular leg.
Me too.
Cool. Then this would be your first time both seeing Wolfgang.
Correct.
Yes. Yep.
Then tell me what you thought of Wolfgang. I'm glad that he's back. I mean, he was always healthy, but his team is back, and there's no more COVID hiccups. So yeah, either one of you.
Go ahead, Cory.
Yeah, Cory, what do you think about?
Yeah. You know, I had no idea what to expect. I have not listened to any of the music or anything. And, you know, they were good. You know, I mean, I don't know that I'd go buy the album or anything, but they were tight. You know what I mean? I thought they rocked, you know, they rocked pretty hard. And, you know, I mean, I thought they were good. You know, I definitely, they were better than I thought they were going to be. Let me put it that way. You know,
Go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say for myself, I can't really comment because, like I said, I was in line getting the lithographs and shirts then. So, but what I heard was good stuff. It was rock and roll. So that alone, I'll take that over, you know, nothing. So it was good to have somebody out there playing. You know what I mean? Like getting up on stage again. We missed all that for so long. Now it seems like. You know.
Yeah. I think that's been a theme of these review shows. It's not just seeing Guns N' Roses again. The excitement around that, it's getting out. It's going back to a concert and some sort of normalcy with that. Now, let me ask both of you, as we're kind of going along this as my brain is going along this night train of opening bands.
Sure.
Best opening band you've seen for GNR in your experience?
A lot of times I don't really even had an opener in my mind, but I know I saw Smashing Pumpkins back before anybody who knew who they were in the 92 show. They didn't have one in 2002, 06. So geez, who? Oh, it was Sebastian Bach. So that was pretty good. He gives a lot of energy. But the most memorable still would have been that 92 show because I'm a Pumpkins fan, but it was after the fact. So that was seeing them before anybody knew who they were, really.
Sure. And you didn't see an opener in 02 with
There was, well, I don't remember there being, but there could have been.
It was when I saw them at MSG, it was Mixmaster Mike and CKY. So
yeah, that's about as memorable as it was.
as I said that, I'm like, yeah, that's not beating, that's not beating the Smashing. What about you, Cory? What's the best opening act you've seen for GNR?
Honestly, I totally forgot. I mean, Skid Row at Alpine Valley was off the hook, man. That show was they destroyed Alpine Valley before Guns N' Roses came on and were amazing. And then I mean, Alice in Chains was incredible the times that they opened for them. And the Deftones are one of my favorite bands. So seeing the Deftones in St. Louis and they played some rare songs at that show was awesome. I mean, that was really, really awesome.
Yeah, that's a solid lineup right there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Other than seeing, because you guys saw it in 92, I'll never get to experience that version of Guns N' Roses. My earliest show is 2002 with Buckethead. But to see Skid Row in that form, oh, wow. I can't even imagine. The closest thing I got was watching them on SNL when they did Monkey Business, right? And they're all hairs.
That's a great episode because they have the Kitty Rock. They did that little skit with Kiefer Sutherland as Slash, and then Sebastian Bach comes in, does the ABCs later. That's actually a really funny episode that I appreciate a lot to this day.
It is, and actually, that's a nice segue. And again, I'm releasing this the same day we're recording it. So, also in that skit, we got to wish a happy 55th birthday to Adam Sandler.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Adam Sandler's Axl Rose.
You got to see if you have the chance. I'm not going to pull it up on YouTube again. I'm at home. I wish I wasn't. I was back in the studio. Whatever. Look it up on YouTube. It's like early Adam Sandler stand-up, and he does Axl knocking on heaven's door, and it's so good and it's so funny. And he does a transition. I'll just say it like this, and you can imagine it if you know Adam Sandler's voice. He does the transition. He's like, I'm going to go from Axl to Edith Bunker. He gets the and it's so good. Like, early 20s Adam Sandler. So I don't know, maybe episode 400 will get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
That would be whatever. Awesome. So Mammoth is done. You guys are both settled in. Cory, you survived. Is anyone pushing you once Mammoth is over, trying to get ahead of you since you're on the floor?
No, not at all. It was super. I mean, it was very peaceful the entire night, which was great. It was great. My only other floor experience on this Lifetime tour was also very similar, which makes it a much more enjoyable experience than getting pushed around like I'm used to. So it was very, very comfortable.
I'm glad everybody has been well behaved at these GNR shows. Although that story I told in New Jersey about some dude bro GNR fans calling security a Nazi for telling him to stop throwing things. So other than that guy, everyone else at the Guns N' Roses shows have been behaving themselves.
One thing I noticed was they're all like our age now, which I mean I'm 47, so it's like people aren't out there to really slam dance anymore at that age. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit more tame than it would have been 25 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, you have to have seen every show has kids, has people in their 20s, teenagers, and also 40s, but I was people in their 70s. I've seen like, oh, my grandpa, is that you? Oh wait, no, he passed away. That's terrible. But
so right next to me on my right, there was a guy a gentleman who brought his granddaughter who was 20 and her two friends. And then on my left was a woman who was like in a walker and was sitting in a walker. So like very opposite ends of the spectrum. So it was cool to see the younger, like these 3 younger kids, and they knew the words, you know what I mean, which was great, you know, because a lot of people around me did not. This guy and I were joking, like, you know, we were going crazy, and a lot of people did not know some of the deeper cuts like him and I knew. So
You said a lot of interesting things there, and that's the point what I wanted to get across. Like, yeah, I've gotten both male and female do the review shows, but I want to show that it's not just all my listeners. You know, I don't want to just stereotype GNR fans as just my listeners. The spectrum is everywhere. Everyone. That's why I started one of the reasons why I agreed to do a Guns N' Roses podcast. Everybody loves them, although they might not know all the words. So, which is why it's so funny to me. And we'll talk about this then. Like, what songs were you looking forward to? You know, what were your highlights? Because, yeah, there are going to be people who complain about Knock on Heaven's Door. But did everybody sing during that? I bet they did.
Yep.
During Live and Let Die, they knew those songs.
Yep.
I mean, it's certainly they're not going to know Absurd. Let's do that before I'm imagining all these different things. Take us through just a set list or highlight. Absurd, of course. Tell me what the woman in the walker looked like when they were playing, you know, Pussy Full of Maggots. Can you tell me what it looked on her face? Explain it all. Put me right there in the seats.
Eric, you want to start? I'll defer.
Oh, sure. Well, to me, I like how he opens up the show doing all the lower register songs, you know, where he can really just work his way up. And, you know, because you got like It's So Easy, Mr. Brownstone, then Chinese Democracy, which I have to say, Slash has really taken that song, the ownership of that, and made it his own, you know, which is a really cool thing to see, because obviously he didn't write it or didn't play on it, but it feels like he would have or could have, you know. So I really appreciated that. The only one of the early ones that I didn't think really fits is Better, because nobody knows that song really. I mean, unless you're like us, maybe. And it just really doesn't work in my mind. But that's the only one of the whole thing that I would say toss that. Maybe except cut, you know, Rocket Queen and Heaven's Door down a little bit. You know what I mean? Because those are like 10-minute songs when they probably could be fine at 6 minutes. You know what I mean? But I was more impressed with Axl's vocal. He was pushing it to the point at times I was like, you know, is that really good that he should be doing it that hard? Because he was not holding back a second or an inch, and it was guttural. You know what I mean? Like, when I mean guttural, I mean like it was definitely coming up hard, and there were times I'm like, is he gonna hurt himself or something? You know, but he really put it out there, and it wasn't anything like maybe something that was at the Hershey show or earlier. It definitely felt more primal. You know.
Cool. All right, very cool. So what do you think, Cory?
Yeah, so my take, you know, and it's funny because when we communicated yesterday, I was looking at it from like a lens of review, right? Like, where, you know, like thinking about how's the band and everything. And some takeaways for me, I wasn't watching The Woman in the Walker, I'll tell you that. I was watching the band. Like, I was very focused on the band, right? I loved the just the regular band setup without having the catwalk thing that they had for all the other shows. I thought that just translated better, like a normal, just, you know what I'm talking about, right? He didn't have his like little catwalk. So I thought that was great. You know, for me, you know, I don't want to like, you know, because I don't want this to be a set list bashing thing, because I'm one of those people, I really would prefer some changes, right? You know, and for me, not even necessarily like, oh, they got to throw a deep cut, but just starting with something different, and you know what I mean? Just even if you switch the order of the song so you don't feel like you're going to see a movie, that's something that bothers me, right? But I thought that, to what Eric was saying, my expectations were somewhat low, because I feel the last 2 years, Axl's voice was not, you know, like it was in 2016. I thought he carried the show last night. I was just blown away. And honestly, I thought for the first time, I thought the band seemed a little off. I did not think that Slash was like the monster that he was in a lot of the other shows. Like, man, like the Chicago show, Eric, I don't know if you're like the Soldier Field show. I mean, he dominated some of those shows and just really dominated. And I thought for the first time watching Axl, I didn't feel like his, you know, throat was going to explode, like he was trying so hard. And it was like, like I felt like it was the best performance I've seen since like the early 2016. He was super he just seemed super happy. He was, like there were some little kids off to the side he was waving at. There was actually like a girl in front of me that he must have known because she was like communicating with Beta and on the side of the stage, and he was waving at her, and he just seemed like in a really great mood. More interaction with the other band that I'd ever seen at a lot of the other shows, like seemed more genuine interaction. And I thought he carried the show last night, which that's the first time I can say that on this tour, honestly.
Yeah, let me echo what he was saying about the set list, and not necessarily bashing it, but like when I saw him in '92, and one of the great things about them at that time was that they didn't have a set list, right? They played whatever they felt like would be the best song to perform at that time, and so you never knew. Like, all right, so for example, the show I saw, Night Train, was the opener, and so that's a great song to open with the whistle and all that kind of stuff. Not the one they use now, but the one he used then. And that show was, you never knew what was coming next. They played Coma. Shannon Hoon was there for Don't Cry. So really, really rare stuff. So that's that kind of stuff, you'd love to have seen something pop up last night where there's an Izzy sighting because we're back in Indiana, right? Something like that would have been mind blowing. I mean, maybe not to everybody there, but probably to us, have been like, holy cow, this is something really special, right off I-65, singing about Dust and Bones, So, that kind of stuff, they're more spontaneous, more than, because I always go back to one thing that Duff said back in the day. It was like, we don't have a set list because that to me would be like going to a job. And I don't want to have a job, It's just like, that's the whole point of what we're doing. Is so not punching the clock. So maybe that's just more to stay like, because everything they do now is timed on time, which is amazing in and of itself, and it fits nicely. But it's not as spontaneous, and maybe that's planned. It is what it is.
Yeah,
you guys both said a lot of good things. Well, just to piggyback off what you just said with timing, I think it has to be, especially now, where there are the noise ordinances being enforced, especially with the Napa Valley show. And I mean, yeah, they've had Pink out before, they've had they've had Dave Grohl out before.
Right.
I think that's great. If I was at that, at that event, I would have flipped out. I was at MSG where Pink came out, I flipped out. So I mean, there are times where I guess that happens. The order of things, yeah. I guess there's a couple ways to look at that. You said something interesting, Cory, where it's like you don't want to go see a movie, and I've never really thought about that. Yeah, I don't want to. I want to see a Guns N' Roses movie at some point, but but not this.
Yeah.
Not that. I mean, they've added things where I'm like, okay, where it's absurd. New song, whatever you want to say about Silkworms or anything. As we're talking about this year, the anniversary of Use Your Illusion, there are songs on Use Your Illusion that are 10 years old, before they made the record. So that's a whole other conversation. But I think it's just what, and I forget it was you or Cory that's Eric or Cory that said, as far as the lower registers starting out first. I'm wondering if that's also planned, and it
has to be.
So I think it's just they're going at it with intelligence. They have to. They can't go at it when Duff was like same way Duff was younger. Like it's a job now. It is a job now.
Yeah, but you could take Double Talk and Jive out and switch it for something else. You know what I mean? After 5 years on the road, but either way, I mean they got it timed. They got it timed well, and I thought that trimming some of the fat from the 2017 tour was also good. You know what I mean? Like those shows were like way long, super long.
They're long. It's great, but if it's affecting Axl's voice or another performance. Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. And I think people are we're all spoiled because they were doing those 3.5 hour, 4 hour shows. So now when they're 2.5, it's like, oh, we're being gypped. No, nobody else is really doing 2.5. But it's funny, the irony, as Guns N' Roses just tweeted, it's like, sometimes you wonder, are they just mocking us? Are they just putting like a carrot dangling in front of us? They posted part of the set list, because there is an alt set list that, I'm sorry, they're confirmed. There are ones that are around there, the internet that are fake, but there are enough ones that fans have, hey, I got this.
Right.
they should put more of those in there. They're not switching more of those. I agreed. But what Guns N' Roses tweeted was their set list with the main stuff. What are you adding to this? So they're, I don't know if they're mocking us as we're talking about the set list, or they're really going to start switching things up. As
one thing I will say though is for this tour, not NITL, whatever you want to call it, all shows that I've seen have all been different as far as 16 to 17 and now. There has been different things added and removed. You know, like This I Love, for example. But I love the Layla piano guitar part they did before November Rain, or was it after? One, either or. That was a really cool thing that I would have actually liked to have seen stay. And also I loved when Slash and Richard did the Pink Floyd medley back. I think that might have been in 16.
16. That was awesome. That was
great.
That was really cool.
What do you think about what they're doing now with Duff doing the Stooges and Slash's? It's a blues. It escapes me the name of it, but it's
Manish Boy.
There you go. It's just a great. Those, I don't know. I thought that those were awesome to experience those live. They think they sound great.
I thought Duff's song was the best one that he's done of all the solo stuff that he has done. You know, from Attitude to I can't remember what he did besides that to I Want to Be Your Dog. It was a great song. I mean, it's a rocker. It's a full length song, unlike Attitude, which is like a 2-minute scream fest. You know what I mean? Nothing. So that's an actual real song, and he does a great job with it. The fact that they feature him is great because everybody gets their own spotlight. Well, Richard really doesn't, sort of does, but doesn't. But everybody else gets the spotlight, you know. So that's a cool little thing that they do.
I remember the first time I heard it, we're all waiting for a new song, and this was, I think, the second night Absurd was played, and I was like, wait, what is this? Is this Hard School? What is it? And okay, it's I Want to Be Your Dog. It's still great. Cory, do you like it? Do you like Attitude? Because I'm actually a fan of both of those covers.
Well, I'm a huge Misfits fan, so I love when he used to do Attitude and back in the day. But I will agree with Eric, like that. I Want to Be Your Dog last night was really solid and really good. I thought. I also, going back, I mean, it was cool when he would mix it up a little bit. I think he did raw power sometimes from the Stooges, and so
right.
But I Want to Be Your Dog was really good last night. I really enjoyed it. It was good.
I think he did New Rose. Maybe that might
New Rose. Okay.
Well, not last night. I was saying in general.
Yeah.
Covering New Rose.
Yeah. So no, but I love that he gets to sing a song every night. I think that's great. And I thought that I Want to Be Your Dog was great. Slash's thing dragged on a little bit for me, in all honesty. Right. I don't know. I don't know if you agree, Eric, but I just felt that Slash was a little off. It just, to me, felt just a little off last night.
It was overly long. I agree.
Yeah.
The St. Louis one he did, where he did the Chuck Berry dancing and improvisation of that, I thought was far superior. But it is what it is. I can't complain that he's out there playing that guitar and doing what he does. I mean, the effort he puts in is no joke. I mean, it's full on 2.5 solid hours. I don't know how he doesn't have calluses all over his fingers bleeding. You know what I mean? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool that, because it seems like Axl kind of stole the show last night. So it's okay that maybe Slash not necessarily takes a back seat, but is not as shiny as one of his counterparts. So that's fine. I always make those sport teams and like analogies. Sometimes it's one player's time to shine. It's as long as the team wins, as long as the show is great. I think that's all that matters. So since Axl was he was on last night.
Yeah.
What do you think of Absurd? What do you think of Absurd then? The new song.
Go ahead, Cory.
I am not a fan of the song. I'll straight up be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of the song. But I will say one of the things I thought was interesting was, a lot of times when you hear a song that you don't know, you realize how bad the vocal mix is, because you really just realize you can't understand what they're singing, right? Because I know all the other words to every other song. So I can piece it out. It was his vocals were super, super clear on that song. And I could understand every word, which I thought was awesome, right? Because it showed how great the sound was. It's a lot better in concert. It was a lot better in concert. I'm not a fan of the lyrics or anything like that, but yeah, it was cool. And Axl seemed to get into it and everything. You know what I mean? But I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan of the song. I gotta be honest, you know.
I mean,
Opinions.
I'll take it from the point of view of that it's something different that we hadn't heard before. But if I never heard it again, it wouldn't break my heart either.
Okay. And you didn't look over, Cory, to see what the woman in the walker was how she was reacting to Absurd?
No, I didn't. I'm telling you, I was so focused on, you know, soaking up the being that close, you know, and really so yeah, I did not. I looked over a couple times actually later on, because some guys actually started pushing her around and almost knocked her over at one point. And so there was like a little bit of a scene for a second. And so but then later on, that woman that I mentioned who must know Beta and Axel somehow, she let her go in the front row, which was really cool to see. So they let her get in the front row like she was sitting in her you know, sitting on the walker thing. And so that was touching. Those little moments, right? Like when you see some of those things, that was really cool, I thought, you know.
Awesome. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad that
One thing I wanted to add, Brandon, was you know the Rolling Stones song "Cocksucker Blues"?
yeah.
All right, they owed the company another song, right? So they gave them that. You know, there's your song. Well, maybe Guns owed them somebody a song, and here's your song. It's kind of in the same vein of that. Like this is a song. It's not our best or whatever, but here's your song. So there you go.
For all the fans asking for new music, well, here you go. Absurd.
Exactly.
And yeah, I've already said I didn't like Silkworms. Whatever Slash did to it, maybe I've been so deprived of new GNR. I dig it. I mean, do I listen to it every day? No. At the beginning, I don't know. I just couldn't help but consume Absurd at the beginning. But yeah, singing those lyrics, and this is coming from somebody who's seen the Human Centipede trilogy twice. I don't like singing Absurd lyrics. It's just no. It doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So then what were some of your other highlights, as we know most of the set list, but what were you surprised by anything in particular other than, I mean, you both said you went in with certain expectations, but I guess what helped you exceed those expectations?
Well, for me, it was seeing that Axel wasn't struggling, you know, with the higher notes. When he wanted to hit him, he hit him, and he hit him good. I actually really like Wichita Lineman. I thought that was really nice segue with the acoustic part with that and Patience. I thought he sang that really well. I don't know, like my buddy looks over me, what song is this? You know, like, oh, that's Glenn Campbell's cover song. You know, who the hell's Glenn Campbell, right? So, but no, it's a really good song, and he does a really good job of singing the vocal variations the way it kind of goes, and it fits really well. I like that song a lot. And Night Train was powerful to me right at the end of the before the encore. You know, just the way he can really get out there, and when he pushes it, man, you can see it. And I was close enough where you could tell this guy's got it tonight. It was no joke. So that's for me what it was.
Right on. And I've said before, Wichita Lineman, I really like it. I hope it's on if a new album recorded. I knew of Glenn Campbell. I like that version now. I think the original was written by Jimmy Webb, a different Jimmy Webb that you may know from the GN'R universe. But yeah, they do something special. I want them to get acoustic. It's just, yeah, I mentioned before, as you guys have seen them in '92, I didn't experience that kind of GN'R Lies version of GN'R. I just didn't. So seeing Wichita Lineman like that kind of makes me feel like those shows you would see back in the day. I would see on YouTube them like hanging out on the couch, just, you know, rocking out. Yeah,
right.
So very cool. So anything else? So Cory, anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
So for me, I loved You're Crazy, because I thought they did a phenomenal job with that song last night. And I just loved it, you know, and I was a little nervous because, you know, I don't know if Eric will agree with me, but in St. Louis, right? Like they busted out Yesterdays and they busted out Used to Love Her. And I thought they both sounded like trash. You know, I just thought like they didn't I don't know if they didn't practice them. Like I thought the first version of Dead Horse that they did live, like it sounded like they hadn't practiced it, you know? And so You're Crazy, I was like sort of hesitant. I was like, man, is this going to be like when they played Used to Love Her, which on a set list at your home, it's like oh my God, they played Used to Love Her. And I would be really excited for that. And I thought it was awesome. I thought You're Crazy was awesome. And for me personally, I love Madagascar. I think it's a great song. I honestly, I think they should not play anything off Chinese Democracy. I was offended when they did that in the beginning in 2016, but I thought I love Madagascar. I would love to hear that at every show. I thought that was wonderful.
Okay.
And then seeing Don't Cry, I and Patience in the same show. It was a great show. It was a great show.
I'll add one more thing I thought about when you were talking was You Could Be Mine. I thought that was going to be like a train wreck because I've heard, he should drop that one. That was actually really good. He didn't hardly have any problems. It was very powerful. I mean, he didn't come off like in 92, he could bust that song off like it was, nothing, no effort even needed. But now he gives the effort and man, that song really kicked ass.
Yeah,
And,
I agree.
Yeah. And if there was if you wanted to trade out a Chinese Democracy song for another one, I'd love to hear There Was a Time because that's a really good song. I mean, it's a long song. It's a powerful song. And it's probably one of my, or IRS, you never heard that one live, I don't think, maybe. But those two songs that have been songs I would have loved to have heard. I know they don't really play them or at all, but I would have loved to have heard one of those.
Yeah.
Agreed on both of those. Madagascar, There Was a Time. There's a lot of stuff. I'm glad, Cory, you're less offended by Chinese Democracy now that you can stomach.
Yeah, I was just so angry when they first did it, but whatever. I'm an old curmudgeon, so. But and I also loved. I'm sure, Brandon, you've heard the demos. I think like There Was a Time on the demo is just so those leaks that came out is so much better than the album version.
Yeah, then you get attached to those, and that's why Axl calls us downloading motherfuckers. You're not supposed to hear them before. He wants you to hear them, but
I still bought the album. We all still bought the album anyways, right?
That is true.
I would say to this day, I don't understand why Brian May's guitar work isn't on Catcher in the Rye. That was like really, really good stuff, and we have a copy of it if you've got the download, right? But the original or the actual release version doesn't have the best guitar work you could have had. Weird.
I don't know. That's just been this band, and that's what's so interesting. So Cory, I get it. Like it's frustrating because it's like you want to know more about this era. And I've said at the beginning, I like that they're playing Chinese stuff because it just, to me, it means more solidarity within the band, like them playing Slither. But it's weird. It's just weird. You think back, it was recently, I may have said this in the podcast, it was recently the anniversary of the O2 BMAs. And you see Madagascar being played by Buckethead, this guy Buckethead, Robin Fink with his hair shaved all crazy. And now Slash is doing it. It's just, it's crazy. So that's why I never get too nuts about the set list now. The fact that they're doing more Chinese stuff with Slash, that they have a new-ish song, new-ish. I don't know how else you want to say it. So overall, I mean, you mentioned a lot of good songs. So you guys saw a good set list at Indy, I would like to say.
And a great performance. Sorry, Eric.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, I was very pleased. I got my money's worth, which is great. You don't feel like, damn, I spent like, $100 and I got ripped off or whatever. That was a really good show. I mean, my buddy said the same thing. Like he said, it was better. In his opinion, he was at the Chicago 16 show as well. He said it was better than that. I know, Cory, you were saying you didn't think Slash was as good as then, but overall, I thought it was a good show, really good show.
Where is it ranked for you then? I forgot, you mentioned 6, 7 shows you've been to?
Yeah, well, nothing will ever top 92. I don't care. They could come back, whatever. That show is, I don't know, you may have seen that on YouTube. It was out there for years. I don't know if it is anymore. But that show, I mean, I would watch it again just to get goosebumps because I remember being there. So starting at 11:30 at night, not leaving till almost 2 a.m. and having to go to school the next day. I was a senior in high school. I didn't give a shit.
I was about to ask you, so you were a senior in high school when that?
Yeah, I was just about to graduate a month after that, and so I always remember that time being a really cool time. And also what's really, really unique about that show, I had friends that had tickets for the next night, which got canceled because Axl was going to get hauled in by the St. Louis authorities. They put out a arrest warrant for him, and he jumped, took off. They left the country. They canceled Chicago. They canceled 2 Detroit shows, and they went over to the UK. So I felt really fortunate having to get to go to that.
Yeah.
show.
Did you have a lot of friends before we get to, and also Cory, I'm gonna ask you the same questions. Did you have friends that were all waiting to go to that second show? They're like, we'll just wait. Like, who did you go with?
I went with about 5 other people. So there was me and another good friend of mine, and we all drove in my car. Of course, had the Use Your Illusions cranked the whole way going to the Rosemont. I lived in the south suburbs of Chicago then when I went to high school, Calumet City. If you've seen the Blues Brothers, that's where I grew up.
Okay.
So that show is about 45 minutes away. We cranked the guns the whole way. Of course, you get there, it's still daylight. They don't go on until God knows when. But like I said, it was a great experience. But I had about at least 3 people I knew that didn't get tickets because that first show sold out pretty quick. That's why they put a new one on. Okay. And they all got tickets for the second show, of course, and didn't ever get to experience it. So
now, where do we rank this show that started in the daylight? Right, I wasn't there. Yeah, every show. It seems like a dream. Like Guns is on now, and it's right out.
I'll say one thing about that. That's funny. My wife is like 6:30 start time. What do they got? Do they have to be in bed by 10 o'clock or something like that? Compared to the old days, you would never fathom it. But this show of the Not in Your Lifetime shows was my favorite of the 3 that I've seen. 16 Chicago, 17 St. Louis, and now Indy. So for me, that's where that goes. And they would all be below 92, of course, but above the 2002 and 2006 shows.
Cool. That says a lot to those who are, think they're seeing the same show again and again.
You're not. Yeah.
It
seems like it. No.
But it's not. As we are breaking it down on this on this little podcast. So Cory, where does this fall for you? I don't expect it to be number 1.
No. I'm gonna like contextualize it in the Not in This Lifetime tour, right? I guess I would say. It was better than the 2017 shows, both the ones I saw in 2017, the Chicago and St. Louis. Although I think it was the most, like in St. Louis in 2017, Axl was also very chatty, probably the chattiest I'd seen him besides this show, and seemed really happy. I would say probably middle of the pack, and like I saw in 2016, for me, Vegas, the first night in Vegas was the best concert I've ever seen in my entire life, and nothing will ever beat that. That was better than even the old shows for me in many ways. It was better than the old shows. It was the best concert I've ever seen in my life. And then I thought Chicago 2016 was awesome. The crowd was just on fire. It was just packed to the gills the first night. And then Atlanta, really, I saw the Atlanta 2016. That was a great show for some reason. I thought that was really great, but it was better than the 2017s. Definitely, it was better than the 2017s, for sure.
I'm not making this up. I said this on Twitter. You ask, it's not just my listeners. Actually, I could say this. It's old listener and new listener. Reviews are positive. We may have our opinions on stuff and set lists, and maybe one night's not the best, but everyone leaves happy and enjoying themselves. It's really fascinating. Again, as one of my favorite things about doing this podcast is trying to live the days that I haven't lived. Although I guess it's probably good I never experienced a riot. Say I survived a riot, you got to feel, I don't know. That's a whole other conversation.
Right.
And it also got me thinking, Cory, maybe we got to do a review show of just that of Vegas. I think we're gonna have to do at some point.
Actually, I forgot. I was gonna say I forgot to mention. I went to one of those shows in 2012 in Vegas. I had completely forgotten about that at the Hard Rock, which was a really cool venue, which doesn't exist anymore, which is a story in and of itself. But it was a good show. I was really up close. I mean, I got pictures of Axl from like 5 feet away, which is pretty cool. The thing about those shows that aren't memorable is that band doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? That version. So I kind of put that out of my mind at this point. This version is the closest thing you're going to get to the original, so it's why it holds a special place for me now.
It's hard to argue that. I guess people do, because there are Guns N' Roses. Believe it or not, there are Guns N' Roses fans that found the band during Chinese democracy in that era. And I love that. I do. Sorry, Cory. I like that version of the band. but as someone who never so I don't know if I was assuming because you were offended by.
I like it too. But I think this version, it's like watching a band do cover songs, right? I like those. I thought that was a great band. I loved a lot of those shows. I saw the only tour that I missed was 2002 because I was in Brazil when they played Chicago. Otherwise, I think those were great bands. I thought they did great jobs. I mean, this is not that band, right? So like it's that's to me, that's the thing, right?
Well, yeah,
I love Chinese Democracy. I think it's a great album, and I loved those shows. I thought those were good bands.
I gotcha, and forgive me for assuming then, because then I agree with you where it seems like it's a cover song because it's not that band. I want to see Buckethead, perform those songs.
Yeah.
While I think Melissa and we were talking about Better earlier, Eric, that I think it's funny that people don't know that song. And although that's supposed to be one of the best songs off Chinese Democracy and it's the most consistent, it goes to show you that general public is not like us. They don't know. But it's interesting to hear Melissa sing Better because she wasn't on so it is almost, it almost is like a cover band. But that's why Slash, you said, making Chinese Democracy, the song itself, his own. So if I do see There Was a Time Live or Prostitute or Shackler's Revenge, I don't know how I'm going to process that because I'm going to be thinking of a guy in a Kentucky Fried Chicken. He's got a kebab instead.
Was he, it's funny because I don't even know the history of Chinese Democracy. Was he even on the finished version of that, or did they get rid of his parts? See, I don't know for sure.
What, Bucket?
Yeah. Was he on the actual finished versions of all the songs or some of them?
I couldn't tell you offhand which ones, but he's on the album.
Mm-hmm.
The only ones that were in the band that are not on the album are DJ Ashba and Richard Fortus. I don't think Fortus is even on the album. So I hope if they put out more new music that Richard's on there. That's what I want. I want this band, we're enjoying this band to be more of a band. So the things that irked me, like when they were in Vegas and they had the 3 jerseys of just Slash, Duff, and Axl.
Yeah.
I hope the rest of the band got Las Vegas Raiders jerseys.
Right.
I don't know. It's like those little, he introduces them all. They all get their love. They seem to be all treated well. I just want them to be a band.
Yeah. Do they travel together or do they travel separately? What do they do after the show? What do they do on their days off? Is it really just each man to their own devices, or because that's.
Well,
that's another. I think that's
a whole other story. Yeah.
That's how they were back in the day. I mean, that's how they were back in the early 90s when Axl sort of, like on that Use Your Illusions tour. I mean, he was not, he was never, I don't think they saw him, but on stage, honestly.
Right.
They barely hung out. And he never took a plane other than peeing on it. But after a while, he would just start taking a bus. He just said, forget this.
Well, if you remember the James Hetfield Rolling Stone interview, I wouldn't call it a band. I'd call it a guy and some other guys. That's very, 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 very accurate, I think, because he would have the perspective to know that, right?
We'll learn more from Doug Goldstein's book about that. It's not just so much, Axl being off on his own a little bit, but I think they're all kind of off on their own little satellites at times. Like you'll see Slash and Duff together. It's an interesting dynamic, but I meant just being a band. Like they don't have to be at a potato sack race together. I'm talking about like I want to see some writing credits for Richard because he's a great musician and I feel deserves that.
Right.
As well. So I want to see more. It was nice to see Brain's drum track, I believe, credited for Absurd. I believe that. I don't know how else the rest of that song breaks down, but I want them to be more than just touring musicians, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As a fan of the entity, I guess.
Speaking of Doug Goldstein, I got we were talking about that Rosemont show, Eric. I don't know if you remember that was a makeup show for the canceled show at the World Music Theater. So here's a bit of maybe you can ask Doug this. This is what I heard back in the day, right? So Guns did Alpine Valley those 2 nights, beginning Use Your Illusions, and they had a clause that they couldn't play Chicago for that tour that summer. That's what I heard back in the day. They changed managers to Doug Goldstein, which nullified that contract, and then they added Chicago at like pretty last minute. They added a July 3rd show with Skid Row in Chicago that got canceled because of the riot on July 1st in St. Louis. And then they added, then the Rosemont in April was an added show. And then that second night got canceled because of the St. Louis riot. So we lost 2 Guns N' Roses shows in Chicago because of St. Louis riot.
I was looking forward to going to that July 91 show. I remember that because I missed the Alpine Valley, it was, I would have loved to have gone to the Indy shows, the ones at Deer Creek. Those are Axl in the homeland. He made very famous quotes at those shows, St. Louis 91 destroyed all that. And it was funny too, because you mentioned the shows that got canceled in Chicago. Detroit got the shaft twice, I think. They were canceled after he cut his hand in Dayton in 92. There was Detroit shows after that were postponed, and after April 92 after the Chicago incident when he got to take off. So they got it twice. And I think they got short shrifted on a show in 06 or 02 as well, where he threw the mic and walked off the stage after Patience, no encore or anything.
Really?
I think Axl's trying to make amends now by doing these long shows and performing with broken legs and doing all these things. So
yeah.
Well, Brandon, weren't you supposed to go to the Chicago show that they're playing at Wrigley next week? Originally last year,
I wanted to go if they had it at the original date when I went to Chicago a few weeks ago, because I happened to be in Chicago, and the original date of the Wrigley show was going to be during that week. But once they announced, and it was annoying because I called because I wanted to get tickets, obviously, and the good thing I didn't, because despite calling, I think I got in touch with the Wrigley Field box office ticket booth or whatever. Is this the date? It's not. They haven't officially announced like these new string of dates yet, but this is what it was. Yes. Then GN'R and the social media posts all the new dates, and the Wrigley Field date was moved to September as opposed to during the summer.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, I had it in my mind. I'm like, I was going to go to 2 GN'R shows because I already had the jersey left over from a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So that's why I went to Hershey Park. But now I've been bitten by, if I could be bitten by a GN'R bug anymore, just going to 2 shows on a leg, which I hadn't done before in my life. I told my fiance I would have to drag people to see Guns N' Roses with me because my first one was 02. So, Slash is in there. You can go see Axl, asshole. Yeah, thanks. So thanks everyone. You too, Cory, Eric. Thank you everyone for being a part of this podcast, because I was a loser GN'R fan for all these years. Yeah, I don't want to see Guns N' Roses. Okay, that's Wake Me When Slash is back. Well, he's back now. But anyways, so my fiance loves going to concerts. We may go to Baltimore. We'll see. Taking time off, but in Atlantic City, maybe, but that's just so expensive too, because it's
a small venue, right?
Yeah, it's a small venue. Last I checked, because I might do what you did, Cory, as far as waiting until the day of.
Yeah.
Last I checked, like handicap seats were $300. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I've already. Yeah. I don't need to break any more arms and legs or do anything like that. So, there's a joke in there somewhere. So yeah, we'll see if I go to Baltimore. But it's just been amazing to talk about these shows with you guys. I feel like I was in Indy. I really do. I want a piece of. Sorry, I want a slice of Arni's pizza. I want to see what it's like. What if Axl hears that? That Eric Bromowitz.
I almost messaged Doug to come join me at the show in Indy, but I didn't really want to push him on it because I don't know if he's been to any shows in the last 25 years, because he's right there in St. Louis. It's not that far. Yeah,
he's in St. Louis. I don't know. I must have asked him. I don't think he's been to any shows.
Well, for anyone who's on the fence, I know Eric said he went in with low expectations, and I almost didn't go to this tour. I actually went. I'm going to be out of town for Chicago, so I wasn't going to be able to do that. And I also had this, I always have this little fantasy that Izzy's going to show up. So I try to, that's one of the reasons I went to Indy instead of Chicago in 2011. I was like, my buddy and I were like, let's do Indianapolis, because it's the first time he's played there since '92. and maybe Izzy will come out. So, I was holding out hope. My buddy was texting me. He's like, Dustin Bones in the encore, and I was really holding out hope, but no dice. So, but anyone who's on the fence, from Eric, who's seen the show a bunch of times, and me too, I was really impressed, and I wasn't going to go, because I was, just been a lot of the same stuff, and it was well worth it. I
Absolutely.
was super happy that I went.
Very cool. And so was I. Being at 2 shows wasn't enough. Whether I go to another one remains to be seen, but I continue to live vicariously through you. Eric, Cory, AFD show listeners. So let me ask you both this as we wrap up. Favorite, as I have a lot of my Guns N' Roses memorabilia behind me, my wall of GN'R crap. Favorite piece of memorabilia. It could be anything. It could be a ticket stub, a t-shirt, a memory, like what's so Cory, Eric, you got you gasp first.
Oh, I was gonna say I was out in Vegas a couple of years ago, and I was at a memorabilia shop, and I got a placard, a lanyard from '92 Minnesota on the Metallica tour for backstage access. I got it, and I kept it. I've got it somewhere around here, hanging around. But that'd be my favorite. Plus, I got a stub from '92 show, so it's almost all faded out now.
You should try that backstage pass now and see what happens. See what someone might be like, what, bro? Sure, just come back. Let me know if you decide to do that. Let me know. You totally should. I'm not paying your bail, but you should totally. What about you, Cory? What's your favorite piece of memorabilia? Oh, is that a dime bag shirt, by the way?
It is. I gotta represent. Yes, it's a dime bag shirt.
I wanted to make sure I acknowledge that.
Yeah. Honestly, you mentioned a memory. Mine was after Vegas. I went with one of my dearest, oldest friends, and there was a lot of emotion involved. And just after the show, though, him and I just turned to each other, and it was just something I'll never forget. We both were just like, that was the best thing we've ever seen in our lives, and I just can't even describe the feelings that it was. But funny in terms of, I'm not a big memorabilia holder, but my 91 ticket from the first show, I don't keep any of my tickets. I reconnected with the guy that I went to the show with maybe a year and a half ago, and he gave me the ticket stub. He's like, here, I have this for you. This is your ticket stub that I kept all these years. And I think I've already lost it. I was going to try to bring it up and show you how much the cost of it was and everything. I was looking in a drawer. I don't even remember where I put it, but that's sort of cool to have that original Ticketron ticket stub that I got at Sears, when they went on sale. So as an 11-year-old kid.
I don't think I ever had the pleasure of buying tickets at a Sears. I don't think I ever did that. Just to think, wow. Maybe it's a good thing that you don't have memorabilia since you lose stuff. But
yeah, I know, right?
If you find it, take a picture and I'll post it.
I will. I'll look for it.
Very cool.
I was going to ask Cory, was it the first show or the second show in Alpine did you go to?
The first.
The very first. So that was the first show of the whole tour.
Yeah, besides those warm-up shows. Yeah.
Right.
The first show on the whole tour. Yeah, besides the warm-up. Yeah. And I got a funny story if you got a minute about that, because I got so speaking of the Sears, right? I went with a friend of mine. I was a kid, I was 12 years old or something. And so my friend's dad took us, and he was a cheapskate. So he gave me the money. I was the one who went to Sears. So he gives me the money just for lawn, right? Because he doesn't think, it's such a popular show, you're not going to get a good seat. And I was a little shrimp, and these 2 girls took a liking to me, and they gave me their number in line because they both didn't need it. And so I go up, I could have got 14th row, but I didn't have enough money. So I was way up in the lawn, and to this day, my friend's dad's on my list of people, list,
Well, you got that story out of it, but still,
that's true. That's true.
I would have preferred the memory.
Yeah, me too. I would have preferred being 14th row for the first show of the tour.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, Eric, Cory, thank you so much.
Sure,
it's a lot of fun. I hope you guys both had fun as well. I love having fans that don't know each other, but it seemed like we all knew each other. This is really our first conference. It is our first conversation together. GN'R just helps it flow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anybody, I know we're all regular citizens here, but anyone have any business they want to promote, or any GN'R Instagram or nothing like that?
I don't have anything. Just rock out and have a good time at your shows if you're going.
All right. That's
Yeah, take advantage of the shows while you can, and definitely don't miss the tour. If you're on the fence, it's worth it, man. If you're on the fence, go to it.
I hope Fernando hears this and sees what I'm selling tickets for GN'R somehow. Look at all these. I ain't pay you guys. These are your honest reviews. Look at this.
I am planning.
Talk to Fernando. I speak Portuguese. I'll talk to him.
I was gonna say I am planning to go to the Stones show in St. Louis. That's the opener of this tour, even though Charlie Watts passed. They're still doing the tour.
Yeah.
That's coming up in about 2.5 weeks down there in the Dome in St. Louis. I don't know, Corey, if you thought about going to that at all, if you're a fan, but
I'm going to Detroit, actually. I'm going to the Detroit show. And speaking of that, isn't it a shame that after that they didn't add a Stone song, right? I couldn't believe that they didn't add a Stone song. They added, Wichita Lineman. They added after Chris Cornell died, Black Hole Sun. And I just thought for sure they'd bust out a Stone song. But have fun at that show. I hope it's a great one because I'm looking forward to Detroit.
The last time to be able to see those guys for sure. I'm positive of that now.
Yeah, well, they've been saying that since 94.
Since 78, they've been saying that.
Yeah, right.
And that's a good point. I was talking about it on Twitter, Corey, and I'll just mention it here. I do find it odd that they didn't do a Stones song, with those examples that you gave. I don't know if this is going to be I don't want to call it, because I don't want to take anything away from the sentiment of it, but I don't want it to be a blanket thing where somebody passes away that they just play Knock on Heaven's Door, like they did for Kobe, like they did for Bismarck E. I mean, it's still great. I mean, you're acknowledging them. There shouldn't be a precedent, the set of how you pay homage or whatever, but it's obviously very surprising knowing how influential the Stones are to GN'R and knowing that they have covered them in the past. And it's just, I don't know.
Dead Flowers.
Glenn Campbell or Rolling Stones, right? Like, who would you think they would cover, right? With someone passing.
I would say they're saving it for Keith, but he's never going to die. So we know that.
Well, one of my favorite memories of '92 or of that tour was they used to do Wild Horses, Gilby and Slash.
Yep.
Wild Horses and Axl and Duff would come in at the end. That was a really good piece of work that they did at that particular tour. So, and they've done Dead Flowers over the years in the Skin and Bones tour, I believe. That would fit perfectly right after right before Patience, or instead of Wichita Lineman. Dead Horses would have been great, just as an example.
Yeah,
there's a lot of songs like that they could slip in there really easily.
Yeah,
we'll see down the road. If anything, now, even though perception to a lot of fans may seem like a lot of things don't change, things change. There are surprises, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. So we're gonna wait till the next review. Maybe it'll happen in the next.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably not, but we'll see at the next show review.
Soon isn't the word, right?
Right. That's how I'm going to end here in just a moment. Yeah, exactly.
Good one.
So for any fan who wants to be just like Eric, just like Corey, wants to review a Guns N' Roses show that you are at, just hit me up on social media, on Facebook, like they did, new Twitter at the AFD podcast, email at the AFD show at gmail.com, Instagram. Just leave a comment on one of my tweets or posts or anything like that. It's a lot of different ways to reach me. So thank you guys. So when are you going to see the next review? In the words of Axl Rose, concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.